All right, I'd like to call our special council meeting to order. Roll call. Our Councillor Tonio is offered his regrets for the meeting today. And we have Councillor Jobin on virtual. All of the members of council are here and present. And I'd like to first, before beginning, have the land acknowledgement that we are on the lands and surrounded by water originally inhabited by Indigenous peoples who have traveled this area since time immemorial, and its territories within the lands honored by the Wampum Treaties. Agreements between the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, Lenni, Lenape, and allied nations to peacefully share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Specifically, we'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Three Fires Confederacy, the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi, and Huron-Wendat peoples. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture while remaining committed to moving forward respectfully with all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. To the members, any disclosure of pecuniary interest on the agenda is presented to you. Okay, none to disclose. We'll move to delegations, and I'd like to call upon our Director of Technology and Client Services, Mr. Sean Firth, to update us on customer service strategy and supplementary strategy.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship, and good evening, members of council. It's nice to be in chambers again. And you can tell by virtue of administration requesting a special meeting of council, it just highlights, as your term of council comes to an end here shortly. For this term and this mandate, it was important to update council on this initiative that you've embraced over the years, and most recently with your org review last year. So the purpose of tonight is to give you an update on where we're at with the customer service initiative within the town of Tecumseh. And with that, we will begin. So briefly, this evening, we're going to talk about the update for customer service. We're going to seek some direction from council on our current phone system. And we're going to look at how we got here tonight with the many studies done in recent years. The research and findings that have been undertaken in recent months. The strategy itself is in draft form and it'll be coming to council in the near future. The customer service strategy, that is. Again, the direction for the phone system, and we're going to talk about next steps. So how did we get here? Going back even before 2019, strategic priority sessions that council has participated in and given direction in with senior administration over the years. The pillar or the topic of customer service and communications has always been something that was addressed in those sessions and is also found in the most recent document in 2019. I'm sure as we go forward next year with reevaluating our priorities and throughout the organization, communications and customer service will still remain high as a high priority. In 2021, we did begin the organizational review conducted by KPMG. And one of the outcomes of that was an appendix that had a customer service element to it, where they dove into the weeds and looked at our business processes, some of our challenges that we currently have or currently had at the time, and in some cases still do, and outlined many opportunities going forward. And some of them we've acted on already, some of them we're working on, and some of them will be outlined in an implementation plan. Subsequent to the org review, the IT service review was mixed in there as well with some similar recommendations. One being the customer service and communication division being rolled into the technology and client services portfolio. So those have already begun to multiply, I guess you'd say, and we had some added resources this year to assist with some of those recommendations. So again, very grateful to council for having the vision to take us to the next level in that regard. Yeah, this February we had a presentation from the Perry Group And it came to council and it outlined how the town can improve delivering services online or digitally, in this day and age in 2022. And then most recently was a clerk services review that was received by council, which also had a few recommendations with respect to customer service and outlining ways we can do better. So today we're going to provide an update to council on what administration has been working on since all of these studies and strategies and directions from council relative to customer service within the town. So research and findings. So some of the research sources to date, obviously the strategies that I had just mentioned. We're going to look at some of the data from CityWorks. As council is aware, we've been doing the citizen satisfaction surveys since 2014. And actually we're going out for the newest one coming up here at the end of the year. Best practices review. So that entails looking how others are doing it. Are they doing it better? Does it make sense? Does it make us more efficient? Is it cost effective? As council will recall, there was some interviews earlier this year conducted with not only council, but senior management, our management team, and some of our frontline staff with respect to customer service. Other town materials, obviously our website is full of information and very public facing and utilized quite a bit by the public to interact with the town. Policies, standard operating procedures, et cetera. Those were reviewed. Citizens First is a report it's actually research that's done under the Institute for Citizen-Centered Services. I'm just going to read what that means. So it's a report on how Canadians perceive the services of governments at the municipal, provincial, and federal levels, and it gives clear direction for how to improve those services and quality. So their most recent iteration of that report was in 2020. So they've been doing this for a number of years. So it identifies trends in our industry. And some of that was reflective of what we're seeing actually here at the town in recent years, pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and now hopefully coming out of the pandemic going forward. So first, we're going to just drill into quickly. Okay.
Just not this meeting, I'm okay, but. Some reason.
Okay, sorry about that. On behalf of the technology services side of the department. So we'll, from current slide, if we go down to slide 5, I think we left off at. So CityWorks, council will recall we adopted CityWorks, which is a widely used platform throughout the county and the lower tier municipalities, including the county, for tracking service requests, work orders, and that type of thing. So we initiated this program, went live in May of 2019. So ran it till December. So that's working from the bottom up there. So since its inception at that time, we're at about 4,500 total issues or complaints that we've been tracking within the system. Moving on to 2020 was our first full year using CityWorks. And as you know, partway through 2020, we had a little bump in the road with the pandemic. So In 2021, I think the bump up, I looked into the data, there was 200 of those 1,544 in 2021 were COVID-related issues or concerns or violations that had to be investigated, followed up on, and evaluated by our bylaw enforcement team. And then to date, this year, we're at about 865. So pretty much trending the same as the 2020 numbers for year end. But we'll get into some of why or how we think we can do a little better in this. So just a pie chart showing since inception, so since 2019. So in the last 2.5 years, this is roughly how the issues pan out here. So bylaw would be number one, the bylaw complaints at 1,500 or 34%. Roads coming in second at 30%, parks at 20%, sewers and traffic at fourth and fifth, and then other. So other would be rodent complaints, dog-related matters, anything that comes from facilities. Facilities we're just bringing online. So there's a few facilities that we have seen in there recently, municipal drains, storm sewers, et cetera. So not panning out in the top 5 or 6, but they are complaints we do get, and they are tracked in the system and acted upon by our staff. More recently this year, pretty much the same trending. If we change the slide. At the 865, kind of pretty much the same breakdown. And again, one of the recommendations from not only the KPMG report, but some of the other strategies was that looking into why this system hasn't been adopted by all departments. And we have, like I said, facilities is coming online soon. We're just equipping them with the technology to continue. So that'd be complaints for not only our internal facilities, like something here at Town Hall, but our parks, pavilions, any of our public centers, arena, et cetera. Any issues that come in for anything that needs to be done with facilities related infrastructure would now be tracked officially through this system. In addition to, there are a couple other divisions. Fire, since in their new portfolio with bylaw, they just came online this summer with their team to track the fire prevention and the bylaw issues. So we had training for them earlier this summer. And some other divisions will be coming online soon. So definitely by the end of next year, any division that should be in City Works and tracking this will be fully up and running. Okay, apologies again for the glitch. So slide 8, there's a bit to unpack here, but this is just in general the research from the sources I mentioned off the top. So in 2022, citizens are looking for different ways to access town services. The Citizens First report shows that channels such as the website and telephone and email are on the rise, and walk-in office visits are on the decline. Probably a function of the pandemic. We were seeing that trend that way even pre-pandemic here at Town Hall, just observations by staff. And some of the ways we know that is, for example, dog tag renewals. You know, back in the day, actually just as recently as 2018, My sources tell me, thank you from the clerks group, that with 1,500 dog tags, a majority of those were renewed in person by people bringing a check or cash to town hall. This year in 2022, almost 100% were renewed online. So that's 1,500 folks that didn't have to come to town hall. They could do that renewal in the comfort of their own home. Similarly with tax payments, doing PAPs, paying online, paying through their bank, et cetera. We've seen a decline. It was heading that way pre-pandemic, but obviously during the pandemic, people are finding other ways to do business with the town. The Citizens First survey also found that there's 4 primary drivers of customer satisfaction. And they include issue resolution. So was the issue dealt with efficiently and in a timely manner and professionally? And if necessary, in some cases, did staff go the extra mile? We all, in busy days, we sometimes tend to get into the bare minimum, but are we going the extra mile? And is there measurement for that and the metrics applied to that? Timely help. So obviously, how long does it take to resolve an issue? As in this day and age, we'll talk about that shortly, of what the expectations are there. And then ease of access. So they talk about providing simple and easy access to town services that will pay off in the long run in terms of ultimately client satisfaction. So yeah, with respect to expectations, again, we're seeing this trend pre-pandemic, but during the pandemic and even today, expectations from our residents relative to the resources we have available and what society in general now have with respect to high expectations for services provided. And council will have to make this decision on service levels when we bring back the strategy, but there's a fine line in balancing service levels with those customer expectations. And we can all think of many examples of how fast a pothole should be repaired or a dead squirrel should be removed from the road. And in different people's minds, that timeline varies quite a bit. So some of these are mandated by legislation with minimum maintenance standards, et cetera, and a stop sign down, depending on the size of the pothole, et cetera. But in general, most of our requests are, we have defined measurements in place, but that's something we'll be bringing back to council to approve in the future. Citizens First also found, we just touched upon that the channel preference is shifting to online. And as we continue to use these various channels, whether it's the phone or email, or if we get into chat boxes or that kind of thing, the message has to be consistent through all of these channels to provide this customer service consistently across the board, no matter how we receive the issue from the resident or our clients, no matter which channel it comes in, the issue should be dealt with in a similar manner. We've talked about over the years about a one-stop shop format at Town Hall. As going back to the early 2000s, we were looking at that model, kind of got away for it, but it is becoming increasingly popular. So if we can gain efficiencies with any of our staff or customer service reps being able to answer, say, our top 20 questions in a quick manner, then that's something that gains efficiencies and saves that handoff, which obviously is frustrating for our resident if the call has to be handed off or the issue has to be passed on. If the sooner we can answer the question and satisfy our client, the better. And that being said, customer service is not just the responsibility of our frontline staff. We all have a role to play at all levels of this corporation. As we build and redefine our customer service culture, it'll be reinforced throughout the organization that we will have a role to play in providing exceptional customer service. We have found, I can give you recent examples even this week, that the resident doesn't really care who helps them with their issue and resolving it, as long as their issue is being addressed in a timely and professional manner. We're going to talk about and bring back to council the communication piece. There's internal communication on how we achieve all of this, and then how we get that communication out publicly. So customer service perceptions, again, as you all know, we've been doing the biennial customer service satisfaction surveys going back to 2014. The RFP is going out this week for our next round, because this is something we'll be conducting post-election, and with the report coming back to council earlier in the new year to help with the new council and their mandate going forward for the next 4 years. So they'll have some data on the feel of our residents and our ratepayers and our clients. Again, the last one was done pre-pandemic, so it'll be interesting to see what the numbers come back with after this round of survey. Looking at the last one, so we're going by the last survey, where 70% of the residents who contacted the town for a specific concern, they were satisfied with how it was handled. So 70% wasn't bad when I went to school, but 30%, we should be looking at the 30% and how we can do better. And there's always room for improvement. Again, council will recall in our strategic priorities that bullet of continuous improvement is something we strive for across the organization, and will continue to do so. And 40% of residents want more info. Again, this was a couple of years ago. So over that time, you know, we have multiple media releases per week these days. Our social media audience continues to grow on all the social media channels. Public engagement, we've, as you all know, launched Play Speak in the last 2 years with many topics, and I think there's 1 or 2 that are actually active right now. One with respect to the input on the 2023 budget survey. So we have made strides in trying to get our residents more info through new channels. And in the end, even though we do a good job for the most part in addressing public concerns, it was found that overall, we're hearing that in some areas we lack service consistency, reporting use of technology as we roll out CityWorks to all the departments. Overall, we know we need to do a better job to assist staff internally in coming to a better understanding of what customer service actually means within this organization. And we're going to try and do so. And in the end, we have to define what level of service we're trying to achieve. So to be accountable, to uphold the standards that council has set, we have to make that clear to our staff. What is the bar? Where is the bar? How high are we setting it? So the interviews, the internal findings, the interviews, there's approximately 45 conducted. And through those, it was a reflection of what we had seen in the KPMG interviews that were done last year. So these were more recently conducted this past summer. Customer service needs to be centralized. We need clear standards and processes. We know that communication is critical. So this is all reiterations of what we've heard internally in the last year. Overall, the anticipation of change is positive, but as we all know, change comes with an element of a question mark or concerns or the unknown. But we commit to council to allay those fears, both internally and externally, in rolling out this new way of delivering customer service to our clients. We did talk about some early opportunities, low-hanging fruit, if you will. So one is reporting to council on service data, the phone system we're going to get into here in a minute. Finish the alignment of our new customer service reps. Come back to you with a customer service strategy. And subsequent to that, a new communication strategy. And the communication strategy isn't just external facing through the media or the public through channels, that's internal as well. How do we get everything from the organization to one spot and then back out to the public? So we're working on a better way and more efficient way strategically to achieve that. And to round that out, more staff training is always important, as we know, with retirements and a new staff coming on board at the town. Staff training is always important, and even for existing staff, right? Refreshers on CityWorks, our mapping system, our protocols with respect to answering the phone, customer service, et cetera. You're never done learning, and it's something we have to do better of and commit to do so. So yeah, again, it was noted the interviews aligned with the findings. We're going to look at our current policies and review them. And again, reiterating, we have to weigh the expectations of our residents with our standards that we're going to define. Technology, you have to, in this day and age, the right tools to do the job, to provide efficient customer service. I just mentioned providing more training. Coming up the first week of October 3rd through 7th is a week that's internationally recognized, and council will recall we do participate in Customer Service Week and have for many years. So plans are in the works for this year, including some training sessions specifically around the topic of customer service for our staff. Something that's also been talked about and we're looking into is a knowledge base containing information on how to resolve some of the common issues we get. So it's a place to go for staff to find information on again, trying to answer that call and resolve that issue as quickly as we can at the first encounter with a staff member. And then rounding it out is always accountability. So once the levels and the bar is set by council, these expectations will be relayed to all of our staff, and to what level they're expected to be held accountable to. And then this is crucial in providing consistent and effective customer service. So the strategy, again, it's in draft form. This is something we'll be coming back to council with, but just a very brief synopsis or sneak peek at what we're looking at. At the end of the day, the outcome is what is shown here. It's an approach to customer service that reflects a centralized function, working with all areas to grow and mature the town's customer service culture, leading to increased customer satisfaction, including our internal customers, and a more effective use of resources. So redefining the culture is going to be the big fish to fry here, but we're pretty confident we can do it. And we have a great staff to work with that are rolling up their sleeves already and ready to jump in and help out with this initiative. And there's 4 areas of priority that we're looking at under the strategy. So building a customer service culture. And as stated, as I just said, this building of the culture cannot be understated. Looking at the efficiency of internal business processes are important in delivering timely and customer service and issue resolution. And we've already highlighted the importance of technology, and we're going to talk about the phone system here next. And this will be part of the new strategy, and then the communication piece, both internal and external. So again, in summary of the customer service strategy, we've looked at the recommendations from all the documentation off the top. We've put that into a matrix and brought them all together with timelines of when we hope to achieve starting to knock these recommendations or these opportunities off the list. Some of them we already have, but over the next by the end of 2023, 2024, we should, it's our ambition and our goal to have many of these recommendations from these documents and these studies addressed, and obviously frequent reporting back to council on how we're doing in meeting those goals that are defined in this document, and that you'll see accompanying the strategic plan. So the phone system. So we've heard this on every level of the organization from our clients. Frustration with the current culture. Going way back when, right at amalgamation in 99 and 2000, we had the operator model. All calls came to one extension, answered by a live agent, and then directed accordingly. In 2005, we migrated to a new phone system, which was the introduction of the call tree and the auto attendant. Press 1 for taxes, press 2 for clerks, etc. Not really intuitive if you're not sure which department addresses your concern. So you might necessarily know that clerks are in charge of dog tags or pet licensing or that kind of thing. So we realize that, we've heard that. It's a barrier for all the Ford drivers that we've talked about already. It slows down issue resolution, attempting to go the extra mile, obviously timeliness and ease of access with the frustration with that. So there's a significant opportunity here for improved customer service. We don't really have a lot of data points for reporting other than basically how many calls were received in a year. We don't know. We're going to get into opportunities there, but we're at about 23,600 calls to all of our lines so far this year. We were able to parse out 630 of those were received at Station 1. The average call time and the system differs. There was a study done or a survey that was looked at regionally, how others look at this when you call their town halls, and that kind of came into the decision making of the options that we're going to present here now. So there's three options before council tonight that we're looking for some direction on by the end of this. Either status quo, just tweaking our call tree a little bit, but at the same time, just leaving it as auto attendant. We're going to go into these in more detail in a second. Option two, kind of a hybrid system where it's an automated system, but with an option of live answer, which was a recommendation that was partly found in the KPMG report that council adopted last summer under the customer service piece. And then the Cadillac is live answer every call. Try and replicate a call center with an added resource we'll talk about here in a second. So as soon as you dial the town hall, you'll get a live answer and then your call will be routed accordingly. And we'll look at the pros and cons of each of those. So in all three cases, like I alluded to in the previous slide, there is some limitation to the current reporting that our system has. So for a nominal cost, you'll see this coming back when we start the 2023 budget process as some additional software that sits on our phone system that will provide great insight as to how our calls are routed from the time the resident dials the number to the time they hang up. What happened with that call? It's called cradle to grave is the way they refer to it in the industry. I'm learning every day. But where the call went, who it went to, how long they were on hold, who disconnected the call, was it the client, was it our CSR, that kind of thing. And again, more metrics on how these calls are coming in, to which channels, and how our residents are being dealt with. So that'll, in addition to just hearing nobody ever answers the phone at town hall, which we get from time to time, it's very hard to troubleshoot that complaint. So this, we're confident once implemented will greatly assist in coming back to council with finding how we've improved the system based on the data that's been presented to us. So if we look at option one, again, status quo, citizens call, as you all know, you've all called town hall, you choose a department. We can kind of rearrange the silos and make it more intuitive with menus and sub-menus. But at the end of the day, there'd be no cost other than for this reporting I'm talking about. We get the data and the reporting on it, but there's no change management. At the end of the day, if they get lost in the tree, they're going to get lost in the tree, and that's going to lead to poor customer satisfaction, inefficient use of staff time, and a lot of the recommendations that came out of the studies that we were presented with last year won't be addressed in the status quo option. So moving on to, that was kind of grim, but moving on to option two, the hybrid model. So what we found a lot of municipalities our size do without a full-blown call center, like the city of Windsor, like 311, for example. Other municipalities our side do a hybrid model where they will offer the citizens the option of, obviously you can dial, if you know the extension of the person you're trying to reach, you can dial it directly. Have a more friendly version of a call tree that's more appropriate to the issues at hand. But at the end of the day, give them that zero out option where a live agent will answer and help them with their complaint. So the live agent, through some cross training and through some knowledge base, once we set it up, might be able to assist the resident right off the bat when that call comes in. If not, they can assist with routing the call to the appropriate area that they might not been able to have done through the call tree. So minimal cost, obviously training involved with our staff with this model. This is something we had years ago where the call came in and it rang in 8 extensions, and there were some challenges with that because all of that staff is still doing their day-to-day work. So it's a little added work on their desk, but ultimately the organizational silos, we're trying to reduce those and do a common playing field for our CSRs and the ability to answer these questions in a more timely manner. The only con we could come up with here is that we're not having that live agent answer the phone right at the beginning of the call, but we are providing with an option subsequent or when the call is underway. And then in option 3, again, is the Cadillac. And if this is something that council is interested in or they want us to pursue, we can and bring it back with a recommendation through the budget process. But like I just described, the call comes in, it's answered real time, routed accordingly. If not answered right off the bat, it's routed accordingly. There's a cost to bring that FTE in to do this. And they wouldn't be just answering the phone. We do have other things that are kind of handled by various departments or falling through the cracks, or other organizational needs that we could put in this role. that will assist the corporation across the board. The citizens would also always have that live person to talk to, and that one-stop shop piece comes in. The cons, obviously, is a budget implication. And if that operator, if they're getting multiple calls, 23,000 in 8 months isn't anything to sneeze at. So it would be a busy seat, and may result in some handoff to get the customer to get their concerns or answers in a timely manner. So those are the three before you. Staff at this time, and again, we'll turn it over to council here shortly, but recommending starting with the option 2, the hybrid model, for all the reasons I just mentioned. I'm not going to go through this again, but off the second option matrix, this is all for all the reasons we think this is the way to start with improving this aspect of customer service. So we'll come back to this after the final slide, and we'll need some direction. And I think, Jen, we have a resolution prepared after the discussion with council. And then just in closing, next steps, just a summary of what we've talked to throughout the presentation. So we'll come back to council with the strategy. We'll implement council's approved amendments tonight with the phone system as soon as possible. We're going to formalize the roles of our customer service reps, formalize the customer service approach with strategy and the implementation plan and timelines. We're going to promise to bring that back to council. A report back annually. So once we've done that with CityWorks, and you saw for the first time the 2.5-year version of what CityWorks has done so far. So administration is committing to come back annually to council and with the customer service metrics. And we have the baseline now, and I'm confident we can show improvement in a lot of these areas with the initiatives we're putting forward tonight. And also coming subsequent to the customer service strategy is a comm strategy or communication strategy, both internal and external improvements to customer service through that. So we will need some direction from council on option 1, 2, and 3, but I'll turn it back over to you, Your Worship, for other discussion or any other comments on the presentation in general. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Sean. Actually, it's quite in depth, and thank you for sending the report. And I'll open it up to council of questions. Now, Deputy Mayor Bichetti.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Sean, for the report this evening. There's 2 things I heard that I'd like. Obviously, the one recommendation that staff is recommending hybrid. I believe it's option 2. That's right on the money in terms of what I'm hearing from the public. But the other part that really didn't come out, that came out of this interview process, was the internal communication among staff, among departments. And one of the, I just got a call 2 weeks ago from a developer who had an issue and was talking to a department head, and basically was told, well, no, that's, we've done all we can. That's not our department. And kind of, it was stuck, right? So customer service would have been nice where that could have been facilitated, where, okay, this is the person that will help you, instead of, you hit the roadblock, we've done our job, which they did, and everything's fine. That's, public works. Now they got to start all over again. So that internal communication, having that person to be able to be the gatekeeper of this issue would, really speed things along, especially for those individuals that, they need something done right in there, and they want to get action. So, and that was in there. So thank you for that. So well done.
Councilor Houston.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do agree, and I think option 2 at the least should be what we consider and what we move forward on. But I'm also wondering, and initially when I looked at option 3, I thought, the cost was quite high. But when I, thought about it a little more, I do think if we were to outsource or join a 311 program or really develop it, it may actually cost much more than having, an individual, on staff that would do it. But I'm just wondering, and maybe this would be to the CAO or Director of People and Culture. I'm just wondering the capacity of our team members to take on the additional workload or handling the now active phone lines that will come in? Do we have an idea that there is, capacity currently with the team members to perform that function, or just I'll leave it at that right now.
All right, thank you. Through the mayor to council. So we're undertaking capacity assessments now through people and culture and the director. And the intent was with option 3 at this moment in time, to try it with 1 additional FTE with the CSRs as backup to that role. So that's kind of the high level anticipation of what it might look like. And we still have to kind of work through the granular part of that to see if that is going to.
That was me, sorry. I was turning mine off.
Okay. The other factor associated with that is you're quite right, call volume and still maybe relying on technology to back us up so that we don't, miss a call. I don't know if Sean wants to add to that.
No, that's fair.
Thank you for that. And so that being said, moving ahead with option 2, we don't foresee any challenges currently with implementing this with the current staff levels.
Through the mayor to council, I think I'll repeat my answer. We're doing the capacity assessments. We're trying to sort that out. The anticipation is that we are going to try to implement with the current staffing levels, and there may be some shifting of roles and responsibilities associated with this model that we're going to work through as a senior management team, because everyone has their regular work that needs to be done, the back office work that needs to be done. There are a number of recommendations that we're sifting through from the clerk service review about how some of those services are going to be delivered, from the digital strategy as we move and commute more and more online. So, we aren't dealing with a static body of work, if you know what I mean. Other things are shifting as well, and that we're trying to create efficiencies as we go, and to Sean's point, bring our people along so that everybody knows what the expectations are and what role they're filling.
Through you, your worship, I believe option 2 is a good option, and there are some key words there with training and also responsibility alignment. And I think maybe that would give you a better read if that's the one that at least you give you some more data over the period of time to see if that's exactly what you want. $88,000 is a big hit, but customer service is also the top priority. Thank you.
Thank you, worship, and through you to Mr. First. Thank you for the presentation, and I too share the same opinion that I think option 2 is the way to go. I would say that even in my experience, and I'm sure maybe we've all seen it, sometimes it's, please don't get me wrong here, it's nice to just what you do, which numbers you got to push to get where you got to go. And actually not talking with someone may be a very efficient way to deal, with where your communications have to go. So this option does provide, both of those, albeit speaking with an individual kind of runs into, going through a bunch of statements that are made on the phone system. The one thing, and I think Councillor Petrie was indicating as well, I would suggest, because the term continuous improvement has been mentioned a number of times, and that's, I think, quite important in all this. Let's take this as a bit of an experiment, I think. And I believe that we will learn, like we do in all our things, and make observations. I think those observations perhaps need to come back to council, and we can kind of look and see how do we need to adjust this hybrid model. It may remain a hybrid model, but fine tune it as we move along, so that it gets, I hate to use the word optimized, but because we'll never really know what that utopia level is. But if we can continuously improve, I think that would be good. And of course, that's going to require some data, some analytics, and some crunching that. So I would suggest we try to allocate some resources to that, because with those allocations, you may, the right person does a little bit of data mining, and they may find some interesting observations which could advance the system even better than what we here see today. Thank you.
Okay, okay, for me, I think certainly option number 2 makes some sense. But having said that, and I think to your point, Councillor Allenhoff, and fine tuning it and getting to the bottom of it, I think that's going to be important, because it's managing the expectation of the person that's on the phone or who's calling in, and who they expect that they're going to be talking to. And I think the message obviously for staff and that is, who's the go-to person within the department? It shouldn't be the director. And because here's what's going to happen is, to the point where you say, well, we're going to go directly somewhere. The odds are they're either in a meeting or they're dealing with other issues and so forth, right? And that. And I've always found the frustration is where somebody says, okay, if you're calling for this department, press 1. Or if it's English or French, press 1 or 2. If you're going here, press 3. If you're going there, press 4. They get to about 8, and then they say, okay, that's the one. They go in and nobody answers the phone. And then, so where's the drop-off point? Then they go back to 0 to try to get the body. And then from there, it's to channel it to wherever it needs to go, right? So in most places I've seen where the hybrid that seems to work is somebody answers the phone. And I notice that even for somebody that's calling my phone and so forth, is at times it doesn't relay back to Monique or Ellen. And then there's a voicemail that goes in there and it's left there for 2 or 3 days, or if I'm gone or until I pick it up. I do like the voicemail piece, and then it comes back on my phone here, but not all of them do, for whatever reason, in that regard. So if hybrid number 2, which I think can work, you got to make sure that the pieces of it are continuity. And I think that's a piece to your point, where we have to fine tune it. I think that's what it's going to be. And I'm not over concerned. I think if we're going to do a job in customer service, I think it's probably the most important piece to our residents out there. And to prove the point, when we do our customer satisfaction survey, when you look at those numbers, the reason why they're really high is because, they're satisfied, right? And certainly to maintain that. And so the cost of bringing somebody on, I wouldn't hold myself back that much. I know, take a bit of time to figure it out, but not too much time, in my opinion. But I think we should look at least the 23 budget and have a line item there. We don't necessarily have to jump on it right away, but something that's already there, because we're 6 months into a trial and so forth, and we're looking at, oh gosh, instead of 23,000 calls a year, now we're up to 37,000. And then, then we got to look at something. No, we'll have to wait, or we got to go to the rate stabilization fund or whatever to deal with it. So I wouldn't, I would have a line item, ready. And where that's been successful is we've done that at the county, where we're looking at adding folks, and is basically doesn't necessarily mean they're going to start on January 1, but the item is there. And when they're coming on board in July or whatever, it's just an easy transition. We don't have to worry about where we're going to get the bucket of money to pay for it and so forth. So give yourselves that option and so forth. But I think that's the biggest piece, is that it's how we go from the warm body and the worst thing. And I think you mentioned, Deputy Mayor, is the fact that they call somebody and they say, it's either I don't know, or I'm at the end of the line, and they're left hanging and so forth. It's always the best is, I haven't got the answer for you right now, but I'll get it for you. Give me your number. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. And I think that's the important piece, not to say, well, sorry about your luck, but here's a roadblock. But I think that's all in training. And I think, all in all, I don't think we're doing an extremely bad job in that regards. But I think what's happening is the volume is catching up to us. Councillor Houston?
Through you, I do support that, the line item, right, in pending the information of the capacity, I guess, analysis with staff and, putting that to, or deferring that to the 2023 budget for that, that other FTE. But I think one thing that jumped out to me in the presentation, which wasn't in the presentation, but you mentioned it, was how we updated the website and we had 1,500 dog tags, which were now processed right online. And I don't think we do a good enough job of showcasing the ability for our residents to go online and submit a complaint. And I was on here just, searching through it. And, I do believe if 1,500 residents can go online and renew a dog tag, they can also do the same to submit a complaint online because it's a quick and easy portal to do so. But the one thing that jumped out is we have another button online. And if somebody doesn't know what the complaint is, they can select other and follow through. I think, having the zero option or having that ability for somebody to find who they should speak to is the other button that maybe we're missing in the current system. So I just wanted to mention that because I think it's very easily found online, and I try to push as many people to process those complaints because everyone is followed up on and everyone is documented in the system, and we can see that in the metrics here. But I think we can push that out a little bit more and make it a little more aware that we have this fantastic portal and you can do it online and it's there and available. So I just wanted to mention that.
Okay. Go ahead.
So your worship, I can just read the resolution and you can have council vote on it then, if that's okay.
Your light is blinding me though. Your
Oh,
phone,
geez, sorry.
the light.
You're
is
in the
shining on
spotlight
us.
there, sorry. So the proposed resolution then is that the presentation entitled Customer Service Update be received by council this evening, and that administration be directed to pursue option 2 relative to the phone system and the improvements contained therein.
I would actually then suggest tacking on with provision for option 3, right? For at least part of the 2023 budget year in case of need.
Okay, Christina, do you have that? Okay. We're good.
All right, thank you very much. Yep, let's, 7:10, let's reconvene in about 5 minutes or so for our public meeting.